Hello everyone. This is Six Path Weeb, welcoming each one of you to the channel. Today's fanfiction topic is, what if Naruko were overpowered? Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's get started. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen sat quietly, his expression heavy with concern as he looked at the sleeping form of a 12-year-old girl, Naruko Uzumaki. She lay peacefully now, though earlier that evening she had been found hurt and exhausted after a troubling encounter in the village. Thankfully, she had been brought to safety by a passing academy student, Anko Mitarashi, who had stepped in just in time to help and guide her away from the situation. Because of Naruko's unusual circumstances, Hiruzen had chosen to have her cared for in his office rather than at the hospital. Though many people in the village were kind, there were still some who misunderstood her, and he wanted to ensure she was safe and surrounded only by those who truly wished her well. A skilled Onbu with long purple hair was carefully tending to Naruko's injuries, working with quiet focus and gentle hands. Anko stood nearby, her arms folded as she looked down at Naruko with a thoughtful expression. She had seen Naruko around before, the bright, energetic girl who loved to play harmless pranks and make others laugh. It was hard to believe that someone so full of life could end up in such a state. Nico Nei-chan, Anko asked softly, glancing at the masked Onbu, will she be all right? The Onbu nodded reassuringly. She will be fine, Anko-chan. Naruko-chan heals quickly. Anko frowned slightly at the word quickly, sensing there was more behind it. How often does something like this happen? She asked, her voice quieter now. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Hiruzen spoke, his tone gentle but filled with sadness. More often than it should, he admitted. Naruko has faced many hardships, even at such a young age. Anko's eyes widened. But why? She's just a kid. She hasn't done anything wrong. Hiruzen sighed softly, resting his hands on his desk. Some people act out of fear and misunderstanding. They blame her for things beyond her control. Naruko has learned to hide her pain behind a cheerful smile. To most, she appears to be a lively girl who simply wants attention. But in truth, she carries a loneliness that few can see. Anko clenched her fists, her heart aching at the thought. She doesn't even know why people treat her this way, does she? Hiruzen shook his head slowly. No. I hope to protect her from the truth until she was older, to give her a chance at a normal childhood. Anko looked at him firmly. But keeping her in the dark. Doesn't that make things harder for her? Before Hiruzen could respond, the Onbu, now revealed as Yu Gao, spoke calmly. Naruko is stronger than she appears. I've watched her closely during my assignments. She is clever, observant, and capable of great kindness. Even her pranks show creativity and thoughtfulness. She understands more than people realize. Hiruzen considered this, then nodded slowly. You may be right. He looked at Naruko again, her small form resting peacefully despite everything she had endured. A faint smile touched his face. Perhaps, he said gently, it is time we trust her with the truth, and help her find her own path forward. The room grew quiet once more, but this time, there was a sense of hope in the air. Naruko stirred slightly in her sleep, her brow relaxing, as if she could already feel that something in her life was about to change for the better. Scene break. After a few more minutes, Naruko finally began to wake. She let out a soft groan, blinking as sunlight filtered through the window. Ow! That hurt. Where am I? She murmured, her voice still sleepy. Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled warmly from behind his desk. In my office, Naruko. You were rescued and brought here to rest and stay safe, by an academy student. Naruko slowly sat up, rubbing the back of her head. Ouch. Thanks, Gigi. If you could tell that academy student I owe her one. A playful voice chimed in, oh, I'll collect on that. Naruko turned, her bright blue eyes widening slightly as she saw the older girl leaning nearby with a mischievous grin. You've got that right, said Anko Mitarashi. Name's Anko Mitarashi. Kid. Naruko blinked, then smiled a little. Thanks for the save. I'm Naruko Uzumaki. Not kid. Anko only grinned wider. Sure thing, kid. Naruko huffed, but there was no real anger in it. She swung her legs off the bed and stood, only to pause and glance down at her clothes. Ah, come on, she sighed. They're completely ruined. And this was my last good outfit too. At that, Hiruzen's eyes softened with concern, though he kept his tone gentle. Don't worry about that right now, Naruko. We can sort that out later. Naruko nodded, though she still looked a little disappointed. Then she brightened again, turning toward the door. Well, thanks for the rest, Gigi. I think I'll head home. Before you go, Hiruzen said kindly, there are a few things I'd like to talk to you about. Important things. Naruko paused. Something in his voice made her stop. Slowly, she turned back and nodded. Okay. She walked over and sat in the chair in front of his desk. Anko leaned nearby, curious, while Yugao Uzuki stood quietly to the side. Hiruzen folded his hands. Naruko. Before we begin, there's something I must ask you. Naruko tilted her head. What is it? The Hokage's expression grew more serious, but still gentle. Please. Show us the real you. Not just the cheerful face you show everyone else. Naruko froze. For a moment, the room felt very still. Her smile faded just a little. Gigi. How did you know? She asked quietly. Hiruzen's voice softened. Because I've been watching over you for a long time. Naruko looked down at her hands. They tightened slightly. Then slowly relaxed. When she looked up again, her expression had changed, not sad, not angry. Just calmer, quieter, more thoughtful. Okay, she said softly. Hiruzen nodded, though there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. Naruko. What I'm about to tell you is something I've kept hidden for a long time. Not because I wanted to. But because I needed to protect you. Naruko listened carefully. This is about your family, he continued. Her eyes widened. My family? Hiruzen smiled gently. Yes. Your mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki. Naruko's breath caught. Uzumaki. That's my name too. That's right, Hiruzen said. You carry her name. Naruko felt something warm bloom in her chest. For so long, she had wondered if she had come from anywhere at all. I had a mother, she whispered. You did, Hiruzen said softly. And she loved you very much. Naruko's eyes shimmered, but this time, her smile didn't fade. And your father, Hiruzen continued, was someone very special to this village. Naruko leaned forward slightly. Who was he? Hiruzen met her gaze. His name was Minato Namikaze. Naruko blinked. That's. She started slowly, the fourth Hokage. Right? Hiruzen nodded. For a moment, Naruko just sat there, trying to understand. Then her eyes widened in amazement. So I'm his daughter? Yes, Hiruzen said gently. Naruko looked down at her hands again, but this time, she smiled. A real smile. Not loud or mischievous like before. But soft, steady, and full of wonder. My mom. My dad, she whispered. They were amazing people, weren't they? They truly were, Hiruzen said. Naruko took a deep breath. Then she looked up again, her eyes shining, not with confusion, but with something brighter. Hope. Then I want to grow up to be amazing too, she said. Anko blinked in surprise. Yugao smiled faintly. And Hiruzen's face softened with quiet pride. I think, he said warmly, you already are, Naruko. Hiruzen nodded gently. You're beginning to understand, Naruko. Both your parents gave everything to protect the village on the night the Kyuubi appeared. For a long time, no one understood where it came from. But the truth is, the Kyuubi had been part of the village's history for years, carefully sealed away. He spoke calmly, choosing his words so they would not frighten her. Long ago, it was sealed within Mito Uzumaki, your grandaunt. She was strong and kind, and her bond with the first Hokage helped keep the village safe. When her time came, she entrusted that responsibility to your mother, Kushina. The Uzumaki clan has a special strength that made them able to carry such a burden. Naruko listened quietly, her blue eyes wide but thoughtful. On the night you were born, Hiruzen continued, something unexpected happened. The Kyuubi broke free. Your father did what he believed would protect everyone. He sealed it. Into you. Naruko took a slow breath. So. The Kyuubi is inside me, she said softly. Hiruzen nodded, watching her carefully. For a moment, Naruko looked down at her hands. Then she looked back up, her expression steady. That explains a lot, she said. Why people act differently around me. But. I'm still me. I'm Naruko. Yugao blinked, surprised by how calmly she said it. Anko smiled, clearly impressed. That's the spirit, Anko said warmly. You've got a strong heart, kid. Hiruzen smiled as well. And that strength will guide you. You'll be starting at the academy soon, and you'll have the chance to grow, learn, and show everyone who you truly are. Naruko grinned. I'm going to work really hard. I'll become someone the village can be proud of. I believe you will, Hiruzen said. He then reached into his desk and brought out several items. Your parents also left something for you. Though their home was lost, they prepared for that possibility. Many of their belongings were preserved in this scroll. Naruko's eyes lit up with curiosity. Hiruzen handed her 2 letters. These are from your parents. You may want to read them when you're alone. Naruko held them carefully, as if they were treasures. Thank you. I will. Next, he gave her another scroll. This contains instructions for a special technique called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Your mother added her own notes to help you learn. Naruko smiled brightly. I'll study it. Finally, Hiruzen opened a small box filled with brushes, ink, paper, and a beginner's book on Fuinjutsu. Your parents were very skilled in sealing techniques. If you choose to learn, you may discover you have a talent for it too. Naruko's excitement grew. I'd love to try. It sounds amazing. Hiruzen chuckled. That enthusiasm will take you far. After a short pause, he added, there is one more thing. I think it would be best for you to move to a new apartment, somewhere more comfortable. Yugao stepped forward. There's a place near where Anko and I live. It's cozy and safe. Naruko beamed. That sounds perfect. Hiruzen nodded approvingly. Then it's settled. We'll arrange everything. As they prepared to leave, Naruko looked down at the letters again, then up at the people around her. For the first time in a long while, she felt something warm and steady in her heart. Things were changing, and she was ready. Together, they stepped out into the evening, hopeful for all the bright days ahead. Naruko opened her eyes and blinked up at the unfamiliar ceiling. For a moment, she lay still, listening to the quiet of her new home. Then she smiled softly. Oh. Right. My new apartment. The blonde girl sat up and carefully rolled away the futon she had used the night before. It had been sent by the Hokage until her own furniture arrived. The room was simple, but to Naruko, it felt full of possibility, a place where she could begin something new. Her gaze drifted to a small collection of items resting neatly against the wall, a wooden chest, a few scrolls, and 2 letters tied together with a ribbon. They had been given to her with great care, and she had been told to read them when she was ready. Naruko walked over and sat down, her back resting against the wall. She held the letters gently, as though they were something fragile and precious. Taking a quiet breath, she untied the ribbon and opened the first one. The handwriting inside was soft and flowing. Dear Naruko. If you are reading this, it means you have grown strong enough to stand on your own, and for that, I am so proud of you. I wish I could be there to see you, to hear your voice, and to watch you grow into the wonderful person I know you will become. I only held you for a short time, but those moments will always be the most precious in my heart. You were so small, and yet you already carried a warmth that filled the whole room. I could tell, even then, that you would grow into someone kind, brave, and full of light. There is so much I wish I could share with you. I wonder what your favorite food is, what makes you laugh, and what dreams you hold close to your heart. I hope your days are filled with friendship, learning, and joy. Please always remember this, you are deeply loved. No matter where you are, no matter what path you choose, that love will always be with you. With all my heart. Your mother. Naruko's hands trembled slightly as she read. Her eyes filled with tears, and she pressed the letter gently to her chest. For a while, she simply sat there, letting the warmth of those words settle around her like a soft blanket. After a few quiet moments, she wiped her eyes and reached for the second letter. This one had a firmer, steady handwriting. Dear Naruko. By the time you read this, you've likely learned many things about yourself and your journey. I hope you know how proud I am of you. Life may not always be easy, but I believe in your strength. You have a bright spirit and a determined heart, and those will guide you through anything that comes your way. There are a few things I've left for you, items that carry memories, knowledge, and a connection to where you come from. Among them is a training scroll, filled with techniques to help you grow stronger step by step. Take your time with it. Learning is not a race, it is a journey. You will also find a special blade. Though it is not whole, it carries a story. Treat it with care, and perhaps one day, you will decide what it means to you. Most importantly, Naruko, choose kindness. Choose to help others. Choose to believe in yourself, even when things feel uncertain. You are never alone. The love your mother and I have for you will always walk beside you. With pride and care. Your father. Naruko folded the letter slowly, her expression calm but thoughtful. A few tears slipped down her cheeks, but this time, she smiled through them. I forgive you, she whispered softly. And I'll make you proud. She turned her attention to the sealed portion at the back of the letter. With a bit of focus, she gently released it. A small puff of air followed, and several items appeared before her. There were neatly rolled scrolls tied with colored bands, a carefully preserved certificate, and a beautifully crafted katana. Though the blade was not complete, its handle gleamed with golden details and a red-wrapped grip. It felt important, like a piece of a story waiting to continue. Naruko reached out and lightly ran her fingers along the handle. I'll take good care of this, she said softly. I promise. She then picked up one of the scrolls labeled clearly. Sitting up straighter, she opened it and began to read. Shadow clone technique, she read aloud. A method that creates solid copies of the user. Her eyes widened with curiosity as she continued. The notes explained how the clones could help with learning, training, and even simple tasks. At the bottom, there was a small handwritten addition. A helpful trick: more hands can make work easier, and learning more fun. Naruko let out a small laugh. That sounds perfect. She carefully rolled the scroll back up and stood, her earlier sadness now replaced with a quiet determination. All right, she said, placing her hands on her hips. Let's get started. In her new home, with her parents' words in her heart and a future full of possibilities ahead, Naruko took her very first step toward becoming the person she dreamed of being: kind, strong, and full of light. Reading that last bit, Naruko immediately blushed a bright red. She covered her face for a moment, then shook her head and laughed softly. Oh wow. I guess my Ka-san had quite the imagination, she said, trying to steady herself. But these shadow clones sound amazing. If they can help with practice, stances, hand signs, even writing, that could really help me learn Fuinjutsu faster. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. All right, this is the first thing I'm learning. She rolled up her sleeves with determination. I've got a few hours before Gigi comes to pick me up. Plenty of time to give this a try. Dash. Time skip, 1 hour later. A knock echoed through the apartment. Naruko hurried to the door and opened it, revealing Anko, who stood there with a playful grin. Good morning, Naruko. How's training going? Anko asked. Naruko smiled back. Slow, but I'm getting there. I've never learned a jutsu before, so this is all new. Anko stepped inside, glancing at the scroll. Mind if I join you? I've always been curious about different clone techniques. Naruko nodded eagerly. Please. I'd appreciate the help. They sat down together, carefully studying the scroll. Naruko paused for a moment and looked at Anko. Thanks again for yesterday, she said sincerely. You really helped me out. Anko smiled warmly. Of course. That's what friends do. Naruko returned the smile, feeling a quiet happiness she wasn't used to. Then she turned back to the scroll, her focus renewed. Dash. Time skip, another hour later. Hiruzen arrived at Naruko's apartment and knocked on the door. From inside came a burst of laughter and the sound of things shuffling around. He raised an eyebrow. What could they be up to? The door suddenly opened, revealing a surprising sight: multiple Narukos and a couple of Ankos moving around in cheerful chaos, laughing as they tried to keep balance. This is harder than it looks. One of the Ankos said, laughing. And more fun. Several Narukos chimed in together. Hiruzen cleared his throat gently. In an instant, the clones disappeared in small puffs of smoke, leaving the original Naruko and Anko standing there, slightly out of breath but smiling. Ah, Gigi. You're here, Naruko said. Hiruzen chuckled. It seems you've both made excellent progress. Learning such an advanced technique so quickly is quite impressive. Naruko rubbed the back of her head shyly. I couldn't have done it without Anko's help. Hiruzen smiled knowingly. I see you've become good friends. Naruko nodded, glancing at Anko with a bright grin. Yeah. I'm really glad. Anko smiled back, a little surprised but clearly happy. Well then, Hiruzen said, turning toward the door, shall we go? We have quite a bit of shopping to do. Naruko was about to follow when she felt Anko gently place an arm around her shoulders. You're doing great, you know, Anko said quietly. Naruko blinked, then smiled. Thanks. That means a lot. They walked toward the door together, but Anko hesitated slightly. Can I tell you something? She asked. Naruko nodded. Of course. Anko took a small breath. I didn't always have many friends growing up. People made assumptions about me because of things I couldn't control. Naruko listened carefully, her expression soft. That must have been really hard, she said gently. Anko gave a small nod. Without hesitation, Naruko reached out and gave her a warm hug. I'm really glad we met, Naruko said. And I'm here for you, okay? Anko's eyes widened slightly, then she smiled, this time with pure warmth. Thank you, Naruko, she said softly. They stepped back, both smiling now. Before leaving, Naruko quickly ran back and picked up a small scroll containing something precious from her mother. Holding it carefully, she returned to the door. Together, Naruko and Anko walked out to join Hiruzen. He glanced at them, noticing their cheerful expressions, and smiled to himself. Ready? He asked. Naruko nodded confidently. Ready. And with that, the three of them headed off toward the village shops, the afternoon filled with promise, friendship, and new beginnings. Scene break. Naruko walked down the sunny village street beside the Hokage, her steps light but thoughtful. The breeze played with her bright blonde hair as she looked up at Hiruzen Sarutobi, whom she affectionately called Gigi. Gigi, she asked gently, do you know a shop called Shinobi Arms? Hiruzen nodded with a warm smile. Yes, I do, Naruko. It's run by an old friend of your parents. He once trained as a shinobi but later chose a quieter life. Your mother and father used to visit often. Why do you ask? Naruko tapped the scroll she carried carefully in her hands. My mother left me her sword, she said softly. It was damaged long ago, but my father wrote that this is the only place it can be restored. He said the owner is the only one she ever trusted with it. She paused, her expression turning more serious, though still calm and composed. And after that, there's something important I want to talk to you about. Something about the day I was born. Hiruzen studied her face with gentle understanding. Whatever she wished to share, he could tell it mattered deeply. Of course, he said kindly. After we're done here, we'll go somewhere quiet and talk. Naruko nodded, grateful for his patience. Scene break. A cheerful bell chimed as Naruko, Hiruzen, and Anko stepped into the shop. The space was filled with neatly arranged tools, polished metal, and the comforting scent of craftsmanship. From the back emerged a very tall man with broad shoulders and kind eyes. His long dark hair was tied neatly in a braid, and his apron showed years of dedicated work. Seeing the Hokage, he bowed respectfully. Hokage-sama, it is an honor. How may I assist you today? Hiruzen chuckled warmly. It's good to see you again, Daichi. I've brought someone special today. The man, Daichi, looked toward Naruko with curiosity. Naruko stepped forward with a bright, confident smile. My name is Naruko Uzumaki, she said. My mother trusted your work, so I thought I should too. Daichi blinked in surprise. Your mother? He asked gently. And who might that be? Naruko carefully unfurled her scroll. With a small focus of chakra, she revealed a beautifully crafted sword, its surface slightly worn but still carrying a quiet elegance. Daichi's eyes widened in recognition. I remember this blade, he said softly. He looked between Naruko and the sword, then toward Hiruzen, who gave a small, confirming nod. Realization dawned, followed by a wide, joyful smile. Well now, Daichi laughed warmly, what a wonderful surprise. Naruko, your parents were dear friends of mine. You are always welcome here. Naruko beamed. Thank you, Daichi. He waved his hand gently. No need for formality. You can call me Daichi. He examined the sword carefully, his expression turning thoughtful. This blade has a name, he said. The Red Maelstrom. Your mother gave it that name. It was forged using a special technique from the Uzumaki clan. Their craftsmanship is unique, it responds beautifully to their chakra. Naruko listened with shining eyes. May I try? She asked. Daichi nodded. Go ahead. Naruko held the sword carefully and focused. A soft red glow shimmered along the blade, warm and steady like a gentle flame. Her eyes widened with delight. It's glowing. Daichi smiled proudly. That's because it recognizes you. It belongs to you now. Naruko looked at the sword with a mix of awe and determination. I want to learn how to use it properly, she said. And I want to study sealing techniques like my father. I want to honor both of them in my own way. Hiruzen's expression softened with pride. You already are, he said quietly. Daichi nodded approvingly. That's a wonderful goal, Naruko. And don't worry, the blade can be repaired. It will take some time, but I'll make sure it's restored with care. Naruko smiled brightly. Thank you. Daichi clapped his hands once. Now then. Let's find you something that suits your style while you wait. What kind of outfit are you thinking about? Naruko grinned, her energy returning full force. Oh, I've got a few ideas. Time skip. After about 3 hours of trying on different outfits, while Anko cheerfully added her opinions and insisted that a trench coat would complete the look, Naruko finally stood before the mirror, smiling brightly at her reflection. She wore sturdy black shinobi boots with reinforced caps, perfect for long days of training. Her trousers were made of strong, flexible fabric with plenty of pockets for tools and supplies. A comfortable mesh shirt with red accents fit neatly beneath soft chakra bandages wrapped around her midsection. Her fingerless gloves felt snug and practical, and draped over everything was a flowing black trench coat with protective shoulder pads. On the back of the coat, in deep red lettering, were the kanji for Ninth Spirit, with the Uzumaki clan symbol just above it. When the Hokage gently asked why she chose those markings, Naruko simply gave a small shrug and a thoughtful smile. It's something people already associate with me, she said calmly. So I decided to turn it into something strong and meaningful instead. Anko grinned approvingly. I like that way of thinking. Daichi nodded warmly. Your father designed special seals for coats like this. I've already placed them on yours and the others you ordered. They help the fabric adjust as you grow, so it will always fit comfortably. They also make it extra durable, so it can handle all kinds of training. Naruko's eyes sparkled. That's amazing, thank you. Then she tilted her head slightly. Do you sell training weapons too? Daichi smiled. Of course. Were you looking for a practice sword while yours is being repaired? Naruko nodded. Yes, and about 300 of them, please. Daichi and the Hokage both blinked in surprise. 300? The Hokage asked kindly. Wouldn't just a few be enough for now? Naruko shook her head, her expression focused but gentle. I have a training idea. If what I've learned about shadow clones is correct, I can practice many stances at once. Then, I can learn even faster by repeating the movements and improving step by step. The Hokage nodded, impressed. That is a clever plan. Just remember to pace yourself so you don't become overwhelmed. Learning should always feel steady and safe. Naruko smiled. I will, Gigi. Daichi nodded and began preparing her order. I'll have everything ready for you at the front. Naruko continued, I'd also like kunai, shuriken, and senbon, about 5,000 total, along with scroll paper, ink, and brushes. The Hokage listened thoughtfully. It sounds like you're planning a very dedicated training period. Naruko nodded eagerly. I want to learn as much as I can before the academy starts. That's a wonderful goal, he said warmly. If you'd like, I can help you create a training schedule. You could also spend time reading, learning about history, nature, and different skills. Knowledge is just as important as practice. Naruko's smile widened. I'd really like that. Soon, Daichi returned with several neatly packed storage scrolls. Everything is ready, he said. And I've included some practice dummies as a gift. Naruko beamed. Thank you. I'll make good use of them. After settling the payment, she leaned closer to the Hokage and whispered, Gigi. How much is 5% of the Uzumaki clan account? The Hokage chuckled softly and whispered the answer. Naruko's eyes widened in amazement. In her thoughts, she couldn't help but giggle. That's a lot of ramen. And with that cheerful thought, she hugged her scrolls a little tighter, already dreaming of the many things she would learn and the bright future ahead of her. Naruko sat quietly across from her grandfather figure in his office, her small hands folded neatly in her lap. Sunlight slipped gently through the window, painting warm patterns across the wooden floor. Across from her, the old Hokage's hands were clenched, trembling slightly as he tried to steady his breathing. She had just finished telling him everything she learned from the letter her To-san had left behind, the truth about that distant night, long ago, when a mysterious stranger had brought great sorrow to the village. It was a story filled with questions and memories, and even though many years had passed, it still touched the heart. For several long minutes, the room remained silent. The ticking of a clock on the wall seemed louder than usual, marking each passing second. Naruko waited patiently, her bright eyes softened with concern. Finally, the old man spoke. Thank you for telling me about this, Naruko-chan, Hiruzen said gently. His voice carried both strength and emotion, like someone holding steady in the middle of a storm. Your To-san made a difficult choice in keeping this from me. If I had known back then, I might have rushed off without thinking. And that would not have helped anyone. Still, I always wondered what truly happened that night. Now I understand. You have given me a great gift, clarity. Naruko nodded softly, offering a small, warm smile. You're welcome, Gigi. If you'd like, I can come back tomorrow. Or whenever you feel ready. We can talk about my training schedule then. Hiruzen shook his head slowly, a kind smile forming on his face despite the lingering sadness in his eyes. No, my dear, I'm all right. Truly. Time has a way of softening even the heaviest memories. And besides, he added with a gentle chuckle, I think a little planning will do us both some good. Let's talk about what you'd like to learn over the next 3 weeks. Naruko studied him for a moment. She could tell he was trying to be strong, choosing to focus on something hopeful instead of something painful. She understood that feeling more than most. So she nodded again, this time with a bit more brightness in her expression. All right, she said cheerfully. I've been thinking. I want to improve my control, learn some new techniques, and maybe even study a bit about sealing arts. Oh, and I'd love to work on teamwork exercises too. Hiruzen's eyes lit up with pride as he listened. Those are wonderful goals, Naruko. A balanced path, strength, knowledge, and cooperation. As they began discussing ideas, writing notes, and planning out her days, the heavy feeling in the room slowly lifted. In its place grew something lighter, hope, determination, and the quiet comfort of understanding one another. And as Naruko spoke about her dreams and plans, she made a silent promise to herself. She would grow stronger, not just for answers, but to protect the smiles and peace of the people she cared about. She would walk forward with kindness in her heart and courage in her steps. Because that was her way, the way of Naruko. Dear YouTube family. This is all for now. Thank you for watching and being a part of this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more. Until next time. 6 Path Weeb.